Over the past few weeks, Starfield has been all the buzz, and it has not been all good news, so today I am going to discuss all of this. Now, I have been out of the picture for a variety of reasons, ranging from personal to just me wanting to take the proper amount of time to be able to accurately assess this game. Now that I have over 100 hours in the game, and I have had a chance to really test and learn all of the various systems within the game, I can give a comprehensive review of Starfield. First, I want to start with the criticism of the game as a whole. While Starfield does have some shortcomings, it is a great game that keeps you engaged, so much so that before you know it, hours have passed and you find yourself trying to justify stopping for a bit. I think many of the people who have been critical of the game created a certain perception of what this game was going to be like, even though Bethesda repeatedly told us that it was going to be a very different game than what we have come to expect from them. Aside from a single quote from Todd Howard, where he stated that Starfield was kind of like Skyrim in space, every other interaction made it clear that Starfield was going to be a different game. I don't think that when Todd Howard made that remark that he intended to say that the game was going to be like Skyrim in how it is played. I think he was referring to a more metaphorical sense. He did not mean that the game would literally be like Skyrim, a point he would clarify many times over. Many people have complained about how hard Starfield is to figure out, meaning the game does not hold our hands at every step telling us exactly what to do. Even I found this to be a challenge at times. However, this is a good thing. I love the fact that I actually have to just mess around and figure out just how each system works. For example, shipbuilding. Not even a single pop-up explanation of how to do anything. You have no idea how long it took me to figure out how it worked. Even though it took me a while, I loved it. Nothing takes the fun out of the game like having your hand held the entire way through. As a kid growing up in an age before the internet, this is how games were. You couldn't just look up some game guide to tell you what to do. Not right away anyway. Now, it's not all hard, because we do get some very light hand-holding in the game. For example, we get waypoint markers for our quests, and the game defaults to autosave often, making it a bit easier for us to continue closer to where we died, or even making it easier to backtrack if we made a mistake. One of the biggest issues people have with Starfield is the amount of loading screens there seems to be. Now, I too was taken back a bit by this until I figured it out. For one, there are ways built into the game to reduce the amount of load screens that you get. For example, when you are on your ship in the pilot seat, you will have three options. One is to get up from the seat. Two, if you are docked or landed on a planet, or vice versa, you have the option to dock or undock, land or take off, depending on the current status. Or three, and this is the big one, you can perform one single action to instantly go from the pilot seat to the external location just outside the ship. That last option saves you from at least 2 load screens and or animations. Alternatively, you can simply skip all of that by using your game HUD to fast travel directly to the desired location, provided that you have visited it at least once before. This means that you can skip past many load screens in one simple load screen. Now, for this one to work, you do have to be going from one planet to the next, and you have to be unencumbered, so be mindful of what you have in your inventory. Alternatively, it is possible, though time-consuming, to traverse an entire planet or even fly from one planet to another without ever using the fast travel method. To be very clear here, it is possible, however, be prepared to spend a metric shit ton of time to do so. I saw someone who decided to try to fly from Earth to Pluto without using the fast travel method, and it took over 7 hours to do it. So while it is possible, you have to be prepared for that trade-off, which is time. One thing to note, when traversing a planet, if there is a location on said planet that is connected to a quest or requires you to do something before learning of the location, like read a book, the location will not be able to be found. This is one criticism that I have, but I think it is simply a limitation of the game engine rather than an intentional issue. Following that same vein, the procedurally generated locations tend to be repetitive as the engine pulls from a select pool of options available for a given planet, and this means that certain pre-made structures will be able to be found on multiple locations, though the enemies may change. Everything else will remain the same in terms of layout. This too has been a sore spot for people, but again, it is understandable given the size and scope of the game. Personally, I don't mind it because it's still a different experience depending on the population that inhabits said location. The last critical thing I want to touch on is the game performance on PC. First, I want to say much of the quote performance issues are widely user error. Most people are going to be trying to run this game on the highest possible settings even though they don't have the hardware to back it up. Bethesda has repeatedly stated that this is a next-gen game and even gave us minimum specs for hardware on PC. As a strictly PC player, I can honestly say that I have not encountered any major issues and almost never see any hitching, and I play on max settings. Now, to be fair, I am running this game on a relatively powerful PC, but it is not top of the line by any means. In fact, I am not even up to spec for what Bethesda stated was needed for max settings. The fact that my game runs fine speaks volumes. If you are a PC player and you encounter problems, you may want to lower the settings so that your hardware is not being overwhelmed. Starfield is an intense game at times, and it can push your PC to the limit even on newer hardware. So keep in mind that the problem may not be the game. Now, I know I sound like I'm defending the game, and quite honestly, it does not need to be defended. I just feel as though it has not gotten the proper respect that it deserved. There are some things that need to be improved. For one, I still run into the janky AI character movements that Bethesda games have been known for. For example, NPCs walking into walls or just getting stuck in ridiculous ways. Some are so bad that I have had to reload a previous save to fix it. This is a minor annoyance, though I can get over that. That said, I have not run into anything that is game-breaking. I love that there is so much to do in this game beyond the main story. There are several points in my playthrough where I just had to stop and clear out some of the side quests because they were just racking up. Each major city has a ton of quests to do, and each major city is absolutely sprawling. New Atlantis is by far the biggest city, and it is entirely possible to travel the entire city on foot, which I highly suggest doing. It is a beautiful city. Aquila is beautiful in its own right, but it is very easy to get lost in if you are not paying attention to where you are and which path you have gone down. Neon is also beautiful and is probably the easiest city to traverse. There are several other smaller cities like Sidonia and a handful of others that have minor populations, and they are all great in their own right. The point that I'm getting at here is that there is so much handcrafted content in the game that if you take the time to explore, you will really enjoy each location for what it is. On top of the handcrafted locations, there are loads of quests to be done in each city. I have done many of the quests and have yet to really do anything that seems like it is a repeat or recycled quest. To be clear, I am sure there are some quests that seem recycled, but I have not run into that as of yet. The one thing that I will say is that Starfield will keep you entertained every step of the way. There is a lot of dialogue, something that Bethesda made very clear early on. In that dialogue, there is a lot of choice and consequence. Now, I do want to be clear here on the consequence part. While it is possible to cause each faction to treat you as an enemy, it is also possible to repair the relationship. This is usually done by paying credits to clear up bounties placed on you. All in all, Starfield is a wonderful game and well worth playing. Since launch, there have been several updates that fixed various issues, and as such, you may not even run into some of the issues that I did in my game. We will also be getting DLCs soon, so there will be even more stuff to do in the game once those DLCs are released. So, what are your thoughts on the game? Have you found Starfield to be fun to play? If you have not played it, do you plan to do so? Sound off in the comments below. While you're at it, like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I'm just glad you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.